IRA Basics, Roth versus traditional dollars. And what is an IRA? And which IRA is right for you? You want to know how to reduce taxes on a portion of your paycheck? Or better yet, an investment opportunity where you will never have to pay taxes on the growth, regardless of how much it makes you, ever. This and more, so step inside with me. The IRA provides a tax shelter which shields portions of your income as well as other investments from long-term tax implications. See, the government created this program to incentivize you to save more for your future self. In 1974, the government encouraged people to save more for their own retirement as opposed to relying on government programs or company pensions. Quick side note, comment below as to how many companies out there still offer pensions. And from my investigation, not too many. Hence the creation of the IRA. The individual retirement account. Well, most people think that A only stands for account. The truth is, and per the IRS, the A stands for both account and arrangement. So an IRA, individual retirement account, an IRA is just a holding account, or what I like to call a glorified savings account. It's an account designed to protect your money. But the A has a second meaning. It means arrangement. So an individual retirement arrangement. The arrangement part is what allows you to actually hold non-traditional investments in your account. And what are non-traditional investments? See, a truly self-directed retirement account allows you to make decisions without restriction. And some of those investments include real estate, raw land, foreclosures, mortgages, mortgage pools, tax liens, cryptocurrency, land, REITs, subject tos, you name it, you should be able to invest in it. So for those of you who have an IRA, an individual retirement account or individual retirement arrangement, are you allowed to invest in non-traditional investments? If not, do you know why? If you have a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, the only reason you are not allowed to invest in non-traditional investments is because the custodian that your account is with doesn't offer them. But your IRA is already structured. It already has the capability of holding non-traditional investment. So if you have an IRA with a Fidelity, a Transamerica, or Vanguard, the best you can invest in are the mutual funds, stocks, and bonds that they offer. But the A in IRA gives you the capability to invest in whatever you want. And there are two types of IRAs. There's traditional, which has traditional dollars in it, and then there's Roth. And let me pause here. The reason I'm doing this video is because 90% of the calls that I receive are from potential clients who want an IRA or Roth IRA. But when I ask a simple question as to why, they don't have an answer. The reason they don't have an answer is because banks love IRAs. They're easy to create and they're easy for banks to continually be paid on. I have done extensive videos over the differences between IRAs and 401ks and why banks love them. That's not my objective today. This is more about providing some education, some backstory, and some understanding around IRAs, why they exist. And again, there's two types. So let's spend some time talking about the traditional IRA. The traditional IRA was created in 1974. The original contribution limit for a traditional IRA was $1,500. Today, the contribution limit for a traditional IRA is $6,000 and $7,000, depending on your age. Any earned income can fund a traditional IRA. Do you remember some of the different forms of 1099 or self-employed income? Any W-2, any 1099, any self-employed income can fund a traditional IRA. And there are variations of the traditional IRA. We've got the SEP IRA. We've also got a simple IRA. A SEP IRA is an employer-sponsored retirement plan that can be set up by freelancers or those with 1099 income and small business owners. A SEP IRA allows you to raise the funding limit up to $57,000 or 25% of each employee's pay. But if you have employees, more than likely you will be forced to fund their SEP IRA at the same rate as your own. Now, if you work for or own your own small business, and that's 100 employees or less, then you will probably want a simple IRA. Simple standing for Savings Incentive Match Plan for employees. So a simple IRA offers a contribution limit of $13,500 and a 3% match. And in addition, workers over 50 has a catch-up contribution, which allows them to be able to contribute $16,500, as well as have that 3% match. So in 1989, along comes Bob Packwood and William Roth. They approached Congress with this proposal to save the government millions of dollars by eliminating these $500 checks that have been going out to households since 1974. See, if you think about it, remember that contribution limit of $1,500 every year? Between the years of 1989 and 1974, that $1,500 that you were putting away allowed you to reduce your taxable income. And as a result, you tend to overpay in taxes, which ultimately resulted in about a $500 tax return. So in 1989, Bob Packwood and William Roth established the IRA Plus plan. This allowed Americans to pay taxes up front on that $1,500 contribution to their IRA. This saved the government millions in no longer having to send out those $500 tax returns to Americans. Thus, the IRA plan evolved into what we know as the Roth IRA in 1997. See, the Roth IRA flips the tax benefit. If you look at things from Congress' perspective, their objective was to save money. And while it's a very short-sighted view, they did that. They saved millions of dollars. But from our perspective, the long-term effect of the Roth IRA did what? It allowed us to pay taxes on this small amount, but whatever grows from that amount is now growing tax-free. So from the tax-paying American's perspective, who made out on this deal? You pay taxes on this small contribution, and anything that grows from that is growing tax-free forever. Do you hear what I'm saying? It is growing tax-free forever. Put yourself in Congress' shoes. Would the government make more money on taxing you on your contributions today, or taxing you on what grows from your contributions at a later date? See, Roth is without a doubt the best option for young investors. We should all be striving to live in a Roth environment. We want to pay our taxes up front, so that way anything that grows from our investment growing tax-free for the life of our account. And again, none of us are psychic, but based off what you currently see today, based off what's happening with this current administration, based off what's happening in Congress right now, Congress has an open checkbook. The deficit is higher than it's ever been. At some point, we are going to have to resolve this deficit. Someone's administration, whether it's the current, the next one, or the one after that, is going to have to deal with what's happening. How do you deal with it? You increase rates. So would you rather pay the tax rate that you're currently paying today, or wait and see what's going to happen in the future? Okay, I'll get off that. Remember, there are rules to convert traditional dollars over to Roth. And it's really, really simple to do so. Whether we're talking 401ks or IRAs, it is really, really simple. I've explained how to convert traditional to Roth dollars many times in many other videos. I will add a link at the bottom of this one so that you can be able to reference those videos if needed. And in addition, in 2006, Roth conversions were added to 401ks. Since 2006, we've been allowed to convert traditional 401k dollars to Roth 401k dollars. It's a game changer. Because of the higher contribution limits and the ability to commingle funds, that's a game changer for 401ks. As stated, we should all strive to be living in a Roth environment. Let me give you a quick example. I've got this $1,000 that I put into this traditional IRA. I convert that traditional IRA to Roth. So I pay taxes on that $1,000. And in the midst of investing in REITs and subject tos and self-storage facilities and Bitcoins over the next 25 to 30 years, that $1,000 makes me an additional $999,000. I now have $1 million in my Roth IRA. When I retire and I go to take a withdrawal out of my Roth IRA, any withdrawal I take is void of income tax and capital gains. I withdraw tax-free. The flip side of that example is, let's say I'm stubborn. I've got the same $1,000 and I put it in a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k for that matter. And I'd make those exact same investments and I'm successful. Over the next 25 to 30 years, that $1,000 turns into $1 million. When I go to take a withdrawal out of that million, I have to pay taxes on the entire amount. And I have no idea what the tax rate is at that point. So the government has an open checkbook. Now, hopefully it won't be as bad, but my gut says that won't be the case. So who's going to pay more taxes? Am I going to pay more taxes converting it to Roth now? Or am I going to pay more taxes 25, 30 years from now? I think we know the answer. I'd rather take that hit today and then focus on putting that money in the right place, build compound interest over time, and grow it tax-free. But again, I am not a financial advisor. I am not a tax attorney. This is simply my common sense. So to summarize, the biggest difference between Roth and traditional dollars is the timing of their tax advantages. That's the biggest difference. So based off this explanation, which would you prefer? Would you prefer a traditional or a Roth IRA? And I would love to hear what you would prefer in the comments. If you've watched any of my videos, you would know the real question is whether or not you would want an IRA at all. And this is not a trick question. Remember, most of you following this channel are doing so because you want to take full control over your retirement dollars, which means your goal is to be able to invest in what you want when you want. And therefore, you want your traditional IRA or your traditional 401k or your Roth IRA or your Roth 401k moved from their current custodians and placed into a self-directed retirement account so that you can take advantage of those non-traditional investments that your custodians don't offer. They can't offer. Growing your retirement nest egg at a compound interest cycle greater than what you're achieving today. But I'll leave you with this. Did you notice the evolution discussed in this video? Retirement accounts. Your retirement account is evolving. Prior to the IRA, Americans relied on pensions. I worked 30 years for this company. I give my blood, sweat, and tears, and they reward me after those 30 years with a pension that pays out for the rest of my life. How many companies are still providing pensions? But we've evolved to IRAs, which evolved to Roth IRAs, which evolved to Roth 401ks, which evolved to other qualified retirement plans like TSPs, 403bs, and so on. Can you guess where we're transitioning to, though? See, Americans are no longer staying with the same employer. So pensions are kind of non-existent. Qualified retirement plans are the norm. But let me let you in on something. The average American retires between the ages of 56 and 61. Do you know how much they retire with? The average American between the ages of 56 and 61 are retiring with that's $161,000 total for retirement. That's not including Social Security or any other supplemental retirement. But most Americans are retiring between the ages of 56 and 61 with a total of $161,000 to retire with. Do you know how much yearly income $161,000 produces? A yearly income of $7,000 per year. Raise your hand if you can live off $7,000 per year. And I get it, it doesn't include Social Security. Hopefully Social Security will still be there. My point, IRAs and 401ks, traditional retirement accounts are not cutting it. And you might be wondering, well, if I've got $161,000 in retirement, where are you getting that $7,000 a year from? You should ask your financial advisor, what is the yearly income based off the total amount that you have in your retirement? Your financial advisor is going to tell you 4% of the total. That 4% is based off this thing called the Trinity Study. Google it. We will get into more detail as to what the Trinity Study is, but for now, take a moment and just Google Trinity Study. Read up on it. That's where the 4% rule comes from. This should bother you. This should make you question whether you have enough to retire. See, we as a country can't sustain this. So what do? You have to take control of your retirement. You have to be an active participant in how your retirement dollars are growing. That's the only way you can get through this. I'm here to assist with that. I'm using this channel to provide you with information so that you can walk into your financial advisor's office armed to be able to have a discussion. So where are we headed? I'll let you in on a little known fact. There are compound interest producing vehicles out there that outperform traditional retirement accounts by 4 times. But the first step, though, is to actively take control of your retirement account today. I would love for you to comment below if you know of some of these vehicles that will allow you to outperform your current retirement account. Let's talk about them. I'm Donnell with Self Directed Strategies. I have nothing but gratitude for your investment in me and this channel, and I'll see you on the other side.